Hi, I'm Briony Kennedy, and today I'm going to show you my version of a smoky eye. Everybody I meet wants to know how to do it, but they often end up looking like they've got black eyes. So my spin on a smoky eye is more of a classic that most eye shapes can pull off, and it's going to be a little bit easier for you to do. It's also going to help enhance the size of your eyes rather than sometimes smoky eyes looking a little bit smaller. So it's all working on a little bit of a C method. So you'll notice that when I'm putting on my dark colors, I'm really going to be just focusing on this outer part of my eye. So to get started, I of course have got my trusty number 10 brush that is like a concealer brush. It is going to put on my tinted primer for my eye. Okay, so what this is going to do is neutralize the veins, and it's also going to help any discoloration so that when I put my eyeshadow on, I'm going to get a true color come through rather than that color having this irregularities popping through with any of the colors. Obviously dark colors, it's not going to happen so much, but we want to get a nice even palette to work with so that all of the colors look true and really nice and vivid. So popping this on the brush, you could use a finger if you really wanted to, and I'm just going to be putting this on from lash line to brow. And you can see how even that's made my skin. It's toned back any sort of yellowing, and it's of course helped this dark area in the corner. Now, you're probably wondering why I haven't got any makeup on first. What I would recommend for most people is that you work with your eyes before you put any of your face makeup. That means if you get any fallout, especially when you're practicing, you don't have to mess up any of your concealer or foundation. It falls on here, there's nothing there but skincare. All I need to do is wipe it away, and then I haven't wasted time having to remove makeup and then reapply. I'm going to put a little bit of balm on my lips. And the reason I do this at this point in time is often I've got quite dry lips, and most of us do it this, especially if it's winter where you are at the moment, or if you're watching it at this point in time. And it just means that it gives my skin on my lips a chance to absorb that, so that when I get to the lipstick or lip gloss stage, it's not going to be as cracked as it is now. So it's a good time to pop that on. Now I've put my tinted eye primer on. What that has done, as I said, is it's neutralized any of that discoloration so that the eyeshadow will look a lot nicer, and it also will help the eyeshadow stick a lot better and get more intensity. So the eyeshadows that I'll be using today are 3 colors. I'm going to go with a really dark color, and then a medium tone, and then a lighter one just to help enhance and highlight certain areas of the eyes. So the first step is to pop on your darker color. The reason I like to use the darker color first is simply because you can then blend away any of the area that you're not happy with the lighter color that comes next, rather than spending too much time blending each color as you go. So putting on a lighter color first, yes, you could do that. Then you could blend the darker one onto it. But then if you've put too much dark on, you're going to then be adding more of the lighter color to tone it down, and you tend to end up doing way more and spending more time on your eyes than you need to. So I do find that if you use your darkest color first, whichever that might be, for you that might be something like this, or it might be something like this. Go in with your darker color first, and then you'll see in a moment what I mean by using that second color to help tone down that darker color and also blend it for you. Now, this is the Mineral Eyeshadow Palette, which is our Nude Neutral Matte Palette. This is a palette that everybody can use, and I think it's a palette that everybody should have as a staple because you can use it not only for your brows, but you could use it for eyes as well. You can use it for highlighting under the brow area, etc. So you'll see how I do that in a moment, and you can also use these colors as liquids by just using a damp brush. Okay, so let's go in with a short dome or a short flat brush like this, because we're just going to place the product on. My preference, if you've got one of our brushes, this is the number 8 brush. So it's a short dome brush. You're going to be able to use it flat to place the product, but at the same time, you're going to be able to use it to blend the product as well. So that's why I'm choosing this one. So if you can, you don't want to go with anything that's too big at this point. We want a shorter brush that's going to give more intensity and more density of color. The longer the bristles, the less color and less density. The shorter, it's going to deliver more product and give more intensity. So let's get started. Now, when you're putting your eyeshadow on, no makeup on, so I don't care if I get any fallout. I don't care how messy it is, okay? If you've decided at the last minute, I want to ramp my look up and do my eyes, use a darker color, just pop a little tissue and hold it under the eye like this, and then work with your eye that way. And then at least the fallout will fall onto the tissue and not your concealer or foundation. Okay, so I'm going to go in with our darkest shade of this particular palette, and I'm just placing it on the top like this. So I'm just almost dabbing it on. I'm not swirling it around. I'm dabbing it onto the tips of the brush, okay? You really don't need much eyeshadow at all if it's a good quality product like the Adorn Mineral Pigments. They stretch really well without discoloring or fading. So you shouldn't need a lot of a really good product, okay? So it's about placement. So with this color, we want to go into the socket, and we're going to be doing a C. That's essentially the shape I'll be trying to achieve here. And what I want to do is create the illusion of my eyes having a bit of a lift. So I'm going to start a bit like a paint by number, and this is something that you can do when you're getting used to doing your eyes. We're putting this as a starting point, and this is very good for those of you that have droopy eyes. Maybe you're just not sure about placement, and you're finding that when you're putting on your darker color, the natural application tends to look like this. And what's happening is you're dragging your shadow down this way, following your eye. But what can happen is you can then create more of a droopy looking eye because you've brought that color downwards past the edge of your eye and your brow. So we very much want to keep our shadow in this area here. Nothing below there, because that's going to cause and create that droopy looking eye. So popping a dot so it's in line with the edge of your eye and your brow is going to give you a really good starting spot. So you know that you don't want to be blending down past that area. Now, in the event that you do, it's fine because, again, you've got no makeup on. So just get it so you're happy. Don't stress if you get too much down this area here because you're going to be able to wipe that away with a face cloth, a baby wipe, or a damp brush. That's the beauty of having no makeup on first. This placement here ensures that I'm going to also be guided by now moving this color into the socket area and back this way. So it's giving me a nice paint by number start point and a finish point. So now I'm just going to draw a line down this way. Now, if you're a little bit hard of seeing, grab yourself a magnifying mirror. Okay, so I'm just drawing downwards on an angle this way. Okay, and then every time you see my brush disappear, I'm just tapping a little bit more onto the brush. And now, with my eyes relaxed, this is the key, is to keep your eyes relaxed. No lifting and pulling. If you can put this product on or your darker color on with a natural looking eye first to get this shadow in the right place, that is what people see you They look at you, that you're not walking around like this or like this. And if you're raising your brows, you're often going to be putting this color way too high up, okay? So keep your eye relaxed and very gently, now we're going to do a line this way. And you'll notice that I'm stopping almost in line with the edge of my iris here. Okay, so if you looked at it like that, you'd go, ooh, that's not great. But we're not worried about that at the moment. We just want the placement. So now that I've got the placement right, I'm going back into it and I'm just going over it to make it more dense or darker. And until I've got a really nice solid color, I'll just keep adding more and more until I'm happy with the intensity. See how that's intensity and that density is really getting quite dark? Or, in other words, you can't see any skin poking through it. So see that? I've almost created a boomerang, I guess. So that's what we want. We want to get the shape right, get it in the area that we want to work with, so that when we come to the point of blending it, you've got some color to use to blend. So use or apply more than you're comfortable with. That might be a bit dark for you, but don't worry, because when we start to blend that, that's going to tone down a little bit. So put more on than you're comfortable with from an intensity point of view to give you more color to work with when we're blending. Now that I've got the shape right on this side, I am going to get into this crease, because if I did raise my eyes or I looked at someone or I looked down, we of course want to have that socket done. So I'm now going to go into the socket. Once you've done this a few times, you'll really just be like, all right, put my dot there, go down, up, fill in the socket, and you won't even be thinking about it. But until then, I'm just really trying to do this as a step-by-step. You might want to bring me into your bathroom, stop and pause as you're doing this so that you can follow along. Okay, now I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll get started with our next color, and then we'll get finished with some blending. Now using another number 8 brush, but a clean one, I'm going to leave this darker one now, and I'm going to now use this brush, same brush, but a clean one. I don't want to then pick my second lighter color and use that dark brush or the brush that I've been using for the darker color, because it's going to muddy this second color, make it a lot darker, and then you're not going to see that nice graduation of the two different shades blending to each other. So don't be tempted to use the same brush. Okay, so the color I'm going to go for now is this one here. It's kind of like a latte color. It's a little bit darker than what it's appearing on camera, and it's perfect for this socket just here. So again, just dabbing the brush like this. Now you could use a flat brush too, but I just like to use the blending brush or the dome brushes. I just find that I can then alternate between the style of dabbing and blending. Now what I'm going to do is place this on this section of my eye. So the spare skin on the lid that there has no eyeshadow on there at the moment. So what that's going to do, and this is all about teaching you guys at home the easiest ways to do things. It's not necessarily going to be the way as a professional I would do it on someone else, but it just gives you the tips that you can do at home on your own time and on your own eyes, and an easy way for you to blend. And I find that teaching people overlaying their colors helps blend the colors for them, and it also helps save time. So rather than spending time trying to blend all this away inside, I'm using this second lighter color to place over the top of it. And that's going to instantly just blend that away for me. So you can see already that's starting to cover that for me. Now, this harsh line up the top here, we will solve that problem in a moment, okay? We don't want to see any eyeshadow where it starts and where it ends. We want seamless makeup, okay? So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, what's happening here? We're going to address that in the third step. So again, I'm just applying a little bit more of this color. Now you can pick any 3 colors that you want, or 2. You might just want to do 2 colors, and you might want to spend a bit more time blending this with a lighter color and just use the 2 colors, and then using a clean brush to tidy up the top here, or you can use a color, which I'll show you in a minute. You don't have to use 3 colors. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm just blending this. I've applied it here, I've patted it down, and now you'll notice I'm actually blending it into my boomerang area or my C area. So I'm getting rid of that line that you can see here, okay? I'm blending that away. Okay, so the other side. And the beauty of this classic smoky eye is that it gives the eyes a lift, and you can use as dark or as lighter colors as you want. You could use this technique with some beautiful coppers or some orange eye or purple or any eyeshadow colors you want to do. You can achieve this same look, and it just ramps up your eyeshadow look and your eyes. You can use complementary colors, whatever it is that you want. But this is just a really good technique to learn when you really want something a little bit more intense or more bold. Okay, so I'm happy with the blending of that now. Okay, so I've got my 2 colors, and you can see very clearly that we've got the darker to the lighter. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going back with my darker brush, and I've not added any more. I'm just going to use what's left on that brush to really blend the 2 into this crease. So I just want that crease to just stand out a little bit more. And I'm just going to just blend in here downwards a little bit more too, because I just want to intensify. You don't need to do this if you don't want to, but I just want to intensify this darkness a little bit more. As I said, I've not dipped the brush again. Okay, and what I want now is I don't want to see any of these lines. Now, if you are someone who has a small eye area, what I would do at this point in time is I would grab a clean brush, and I would use either one of our tallest dome brushes, or even this one here, sorry, which is our number 4. Okay, just depending on what one you want to go for. What you can do now is you can use this brush and it's got to be clean. I always keep one clean as my blending, my finishing brush, okay? So what I'm going to do now is blending very slightly over this line. I'm not going to go too far down because I don't want to tone down this color. I want to tone down this line. So I'm going to just very gently blend, very gently. I'm just blending, just back and forth to create seamless eyeshadow. And look at that already, okay? Now, if I wanted to make this more intense, then I could use my darker brush, okay? Not putting any more on it because I'm just utilizing what's left there. I could tickle the edge of that seam. I'm going to refer to this line as a seam. I could do the same thing, but because there's a little bit of color still on this, it's going to lift this color up more, creating a smoke. See how that's gone into more of a smoke now? Okay, so you might want to use the clean brush on the inside here, because we're often all quite dark here anyway, so you don't want to look like you've got black eyes. So again, it's up to you. To get rid of this line, you either go back, get a clean brush so it's more natural looking, or if you want to intensify that smoky look a bit more, just grab your original dome brush that had a little bit of that left over on and blend it away, okay? And notice I'm just touching the edge of that eyeshadow. Okay, I'm not going down too much. And I'm hardly touching the skin. You don't need to put too much pressure because you're going to then move your eyeshadow too much. And look at that, really nice and easy. A beautiful classic smoky eye. It's not a really dark color. As I said at the very beginning, you can use any colors that you want. You can make it as dark as you want. You can use really dark chocolates if you wanted to. You could use more nudes or topazy kind of colors. It's really up to you. Or you might at this point think, you know what, actually, I think I've done a great job, but I just want to intensify it a little bit more. You can always come back and add more. It's much easier to add than to pull it back. So I might decide I'm going to come back, get a little bit more of this dark color, and I'm just going to intensify my socket a bit more. And that's okay, because I don't want to pop it up here because I've really spent that time blending that, looking really nice. But I just want this socket to look a bit more intense. Okay, so it's just intensified it a bit more. And I might want to put a bit more down towards the lash line so that this little boomerang's just a little bit darker. Oh, wrong colour. Nothing worse, you put the wrong colour on your brush. Okay. So I've just gone back and intensified that. When you get really good at your placement too, you might be happy with putting on your lid colour first, the lighter colour, and then going in and doing this boomerang over the top. But again, you might find then that you still need to do a little bit of blending. So it's really just showing you at the beginning where that placement needs to be of the darker colour. But then once you know what you're doing, you might want to work back and start with the wash or the eyelid colour first, and then use your darker colour last. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, because I want to highlight my brow area here, just this outer area. Now, if you've got puffy skin or puffy eyes, make sure you stick to more neutral, non-shimmery, because we don't want that to look bigger. So anything with a shimmer is going to make an area look bigger. Okay, so what we want to do is use just a matte shade. If you are someone who has a really well-balanced eye, so it just means you've got enough lid in proportion to the brow area, then you could use a shimmer if you wanted to, and that's going to make this area look bigger. Okay, so if you've got small eyes, you can use a bit of that shimmer to give a little bit of a lift and make the eye area look bigger. If you feel like it's emphasizing lines or puffiness, then go and grab a lighter nude. So I'm going to use this nude here, and I'm just placing it under the bridge or the arch of my brow outwards. And so it's just, not only is it helping to blend that darker colour underneath as well, but it's also just giving a nice lift to the eye. And I'm just focusing on this outer area, especially for us more mature ladies. It's about lifting the eyes. We tend to get a bit of a droop as we get older, so I like to mainly focus on these lighter colours under this section of the brow just there. Okay, so now you can pop a little bit of this lighter colour in the corner of your eyes as well. So I'm just going to grab a smaller, just here. And that is going to make the eyes just look a little more awake and a little bit bigger as well. I'm coming back with that clean brush to blend that away. Okay, so now I'm going to step off camera. I'm going to put the rest of my makeup on and show you the final look, but not before I've cleaned up any of the fallout from underneath my eyes. And there we have it, our classic smoky eye, complete with eyeliner. Now, you don't have to put eyeliner on if you don't want to. You can smudge a line on if you can't get a crisp line with a pencil, and you can always use one of our angle brushes to help give you more of a precise line if that's what you're after. I've got on some false lashes just to complete this look. I've done my face, of course, my makeup, my blush, and I've gone with a nude lip, but you could definitely pop on a little bit of color. So there you have my classic smoky look using the Adorn Mineral Color Palette, but you can use any eyeshadows that you might like to use. You can even use the loose to give the eyes a real pop. So if you're wanting to complement your brown eyes, you might want to pick purples and greens. You might want to pick purple if you've got green eyes, and your oranges and reds if you've got blue eyes. So anything that's going to give a pop of color or something a little sultry like this.